Sweet potatoes are one of the easiest crops for me to grow in the South because they have few insect pests, they almost never get diseases, and they absolutely love ridiculous humidity and heavy rainfall. But do sweet potatoes thrive on neglect? Can we just plant them and walk away? Well, today we're going to learn the answer to that question. I planted all of these sweet potatoes 6 months ago, completely ignored them, and walked away. And today we're going to find out what happens when you do that. Be sure to stay tuned until the end because you aren't going to believe the harvest I got for zero effort.
If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and check out my Amazon store and Spreadshop links in the video description for everything I use in my garden and awesome custom apparel and gear.
Here in the coastal Southeast, vegetable gardening can be a lot of work. The humidity here is so bad, the rainfall is so high, and we have so many insect pests and fungal diseases that it seems like everything wants to come after our garden. That is what has made growing sweet potatoes such a relative joy because they basically get no insect pests or fungal diseases here in the South. They are a consistent producer, and I live on the southeastern coast of North Carolina, Zone 8B, just outside of the Wilmington area, and fun fact, North Carolina is actually the biggest producer of sweet potatoes in the entire United States.
Sorry, Tennessee.
So this year, I was determined to figure out just how much I could push my sweet potatoes. Are they simply a low-maintenance crop, or could they truly thrive on total neglect? Well, I set out to find the answer because I'm just dying for something that's truly easy to grow here in the coastal Southeast. But that being said, even the easiest to grow crops still need to be set up for success. So I made absolute certain that I used all the tricks of the trade that I've learned over the years to grow sweet potatoes so I could set them up to be as successful as possible while I completely ignored them. And if there is one thing I have learned in years past, it's that sweet potatoes don't like organic matter. You see, sweet potatoes are actually not potatoes. That is a misnomer. Sweet potatoes are the root of a plant in the morning glory family. So that's why when you take a look at your sweet potato vines and you see those big purple flowers on them, well, they look just like a morning glory flower because taxonomically speaking, that's what they are. So while your regular standard potatoes are actually part of the nightshade family and are closely related to tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants, well, you grow a sweet potato completely differently. You see, a regular old potato is a very heavy feeder. You need to feed them just like you feed big tomato plants. They need lots of organic matter, regular fertilizing. They like a deep watering, and then they like to be left to dry out so they don't get any kind of root rot or fungal issues. But your sweet potatoes are entirely different. They're practically allergic to organic matter. I basically live in a southern yellow pine forest. It's mostly loblolly pine with some longleaf and slash pine. And this soil is not known for being great to grow fruits and vegetables in because the organic matter is so low. It's very sandy and fast draining, but it's basically just sand and pine needles. Not much grows well in it unless you heavily amend it with compost, but there is an exception: sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes actually love growing in this native soil with minimal amendments because sweet potato roots do not produce well if you give them a lot of nutrients and organic matter. Believe me, I learned this the hard way. I used to grow sweet potatoes in my raised garden beds filled with compost, and when I would do that, I would get the most beautiful sweet potato vines that you've ever seen, lush and green and crawling all over the place. They were so invasive, but I wouldn't get a big sweet potato root harvest. And that is when I learned the hard way that when it comes to growing sweet potatoes, if you give them a lot of nitrogen, you will produce big vines but poor roots. So in an effort to grow less vines and grow bigger sweet potato roots, I started moving my sweet potato crop to 25-gallon grow bags. And I created a custom mix specifically that would be well adapted to sweet potatoes and what they want for root production. So I made a custom homemade mix for my sweet potato grow bags that was basically 1/3 sand, 1/3 peat moss, and then the last 1/3 was half and half a mixture of topsoil and compost. You still have to add a little bit of compost because you need nutrients in the soil, but ultimately you want to make sure there's not too much organic matter in there because that would produce too much nitrogen. Then in May, I planted all of my sweet potato slips that I rooted myself in that mix, and at the time, I amended them heavily with bone meal and with an organic 555 slow-release fertilizer because they would break down very slowly over a long period of time and help them develop big, strong roots because of all of the phosphorus and potassium. But ultimately, I was making sure that I wasn't giving them too much nitrogen from that point on because, again, too much nitrogen would grow vines instead of roots. Now, last year I followed this exact procedure and I had great success. I had a fantastic harvest of very large sweet potatoes in the fabric grow bags, but admittedly I did give them a little bit of care. Once or twice a month I would fortify the mix with a little bit of additional fertilizer, mostly bone meal and a little bit of an organic 555, things that would break down very slowly and where I was giving them less nitrogen than I was everything else. I was trying to give them enough phosphorus and calcium that they'd give nice big roots, but I didn't want to trigger too much vine growth, and it seems to have worked. But I decided to triple down on this. I gave them a lot of fertilizer initially at planting, but after that I pretty much completely neglected them. I ignored them like they didn't even exist. Now, sweet potatoes do need a lot of watering, so I did make sure to run drip irrigation to the grow bags. That was part of my overall system, so when I would irrigate my garden, all of the grow bags would be well irrigated, because one thing you can't do is allow them to dry out. But I basically automated that procedure. I didn't have to do anything to them directly, and it worked great. So basically the only effort I put into this entire process was to initially set them up for success by making a custom potting soil blend specifically designed for big sweet potato root development, the initial fertilizing, and the setup of the automated irrigation system. After that, I basically ignored them and walked away and came back 6 months later. I planted them in the beginning of May. It is now the beginning of November, exactly 6 months later. And in these 3 containers, I have 3 different varieties of sweet potatoes that I rooted myself and grew the slips out. They are Okinawan, Murasaki, and Stokes Purple. So now I'm going to take a pair of pruning shears and I'm going to cut back all of the vines that you see right here and remove them all. Then I'm going to drag the grow bags out and dump them on a big tarp, and we will see what kind of harvest I got from this zero effort sweet potato growing method. My favorite thing about growing sweet potatoes in grow bags is the ease of harvest, aside from the actual carrying and moving of the grow bags themselves. Might be a good idea to buy one of those hand truck plant dollies if you're going to be moving a lot of these around quite often. Maybe I need to invest in one of them. But aside from the moving of them, harvesting is super easy because all you have to do is dump them out and root through, and then you can just take the potting mix, put it back in the grow bags, and use them to grow something else, or cover them with the tarp and save them for next year's sweet potato harvest after you amend the soil. It's so much easier than how I used to grow them in ground because you have to tear up your raised garden bed soil like crazy, which is really not good for the soil microbiome. You wind up damaging some of the sweet potatoes. If you use tools, you'll dig right through them. If you miss any chunks of the sweet potatoes, they will wind up rooting in subsequent years and you'll have vines coming up where you grew them for years. It took me 3 years of pulling up vines that would randomly sprout in the bed I used to grow my sweet potatoes in. But now I'm going to take these 3 sweet potatoes, which are Okinawan, Murasaki, and Stokes Purple. I'm going to dump the bags and I'm going to root through them very well, and I'm going to find every single sweet potato in them, and then we'll take a look at them and we'll see what kind of harvest I got in this zero effort sweet potato growing method. And this is all of the sweet potatoes that I got out of those 3 measly grow bags. This is by far the biggest haul of sweet potatoes I've ever got, growing them in grow bags, and I'm just thrilled. These are the Stokes Purple sweet potatoes. These are usually very tubular shaped, and they are very long. The Murasaki are somewhere in between. They're a little bit more globe-like, more like your standard sweet potatoes, and your Okinawans are on the end, and these are by far the hardest sweet potatoes to grow. They always come out funny looking. They always produce a ton of feeder roots and they have the smallest yields, which is probably why they cost something like $4 to $5 a pound in the grocery store. They're not nearly as productive. And when I get results like this, I honestly feel like a fool because I only grew 3 bags worth of sweet potatoes. I should have doubled or tripled down. Next year, I have to grow 6 or 9 bags because I put no effort at all into this harvest. When I think about all of the work I put into growing things like tomatoes and figs to get those harvests, it just makes no sense why I grow so many of them and so little of these, because this is absolutely incredible. All I did was stick the slips in the ground with my irrigation system and some fertilizer back in May, and I completely ignored them, and this is what I have to show for it. Now I'm going to put these in a tub, and we'll see how much this zero effort harvest gave me in terms of weight. That is a lot of sweet potatoes right there. I have to say it was pretty heavy carrying that. So to do a quick weigh-in, I'm weighing in at 149.6, and if I grab the sweet potatoes, now I am at 188.4. And that is an incredible 38.8 pounds of sweet potatoes. Let's just say 39. So there you go. I got basically 40 pounds worth of food, and I did absolutely no work to get this food aside from setting it up from success the right way from the get-go. And most of these sweet potatoes are really nice. They're really good quality, and I'll be able to do things like cut them into sweet potato fries, which is my favorite thing to do with sweet potatoes. Now, that being said, if you want more information on how to set up your sweet potatoes for success, I'll link to a video both above and down in the video description that will show you how to make the proper potting mix for sweet potatoes, as well as fertilize them properly initially. And then it's up to you if you want to keep fertilizing them throughout the season, or you can just start off with a hefty dose and just let them grow. That's what I did, and I seem to have gotten beautiful results. Now, the last thing you need to do once you grow sweet potatoes is warm cure them. So I like to bring them indoors to a seedling heat mat with a thermostat, and then set that at about 85 to 90 degrees with a lid on and a moisture element, and then I will warm cure them for 7 to 14 days. That will help them heal over. That will help them develop additional sweetness so they taste as good as possible, and put them in the proper shape for long-term cool storage. Then after I warm cure them, I will bring them out into my garage where they will sit for around 55 to 60 degrees all throughout the winter, and these will last roughly until late February, early March for me, where I will save some of the ugliest looking sweet potatoes that I don't necessarily want to eat, and I will use these to root again the following spring, and they will produce the slips for me to start more sweet potatoes the following summer. Again, if you want to learn how to cure them, I'll link to a video both above and down in the video description that will show you that as well. And that right there is what happens when you plant sweet potato slips in the ground, ignore them and walk away for 6 months, then come back. You get an absolutely massive zero effort harvest as long as you set them up properly for success in the beginning. This worked out so well that next year I'm going to double or triple down. I'm going to grow at least 6 to 9 25-gallon containers worth of sweet potatoes. I may even throw in the Beauregard variety, which I used to grow. That's the standard orange sweet potato that you find in most grocery stores. I like to grow more unique varieties that are harder to find, but Beauregards grow so easy, they're just great to store, and they're a great source of food security, so why not grow them as well? So everybody, I sure hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please ring the notification bell so you're notified when I release more videos like these. If you're curious about any of the products I used in this video to grow the sweet potatoes, like the grow bags, the fertilizers, the irrigation parts, things like the heat mat and the thermostat I use to cure them, I'll place direct links to all of them down in the video description for your convenience. For everything else I use in real life, that is all linked in my Amazon storefront. So expand the video description, click on the Amazon storefront link. You'll see everything I use in real life. And while you're down there, please check out my website, themillennialgardener.com, for all things gardening, and also to buy custom merch if you want to support my channel. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see all of you again on the next video. Look at this scene right here. Somebody's ear is sticking up into the air. Do you hear something, Dale? With that big old ear, you think maybe you would. Dale's mom is sleeping in the guest bedroom because I am sick, as you could hear by my voice. We went on a vacation, and we had a sick person to my right, in front of me, and behind me, and one seat over.
So we went to Italy and we were stuck getting coughed on for 10 hours straight. So I woke up in the middle of the night sick, so she doesn't want to sleep in that polluted bed anymore, and I don't blame her. Hopefully I will get better soon and mommy doesn't get this sickness. Hopefully she can fight it off where daddy failed. On the upside, as a result of me being sick, Dale gets to hang out in the guest bedroom, which he loves, so at least he's enjoying the fruits of my sickness.